Good morning. I'm Brian Manning, and this is the Asylum Answers Show, where I'm going to answer your questions about winning asylum in America. Good morning or good afternoon for those of you on the East Coast. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Asylum Answers Show. I'm a former asylum officer with the government turned asylum lawyer. And now my law firm, Political Asylum Lawyers, is the name of it. We help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America. And that's what I want to talk with you about today. So I want to know, what questions do you have about winning asylum in the United States? Good morning. Hello, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. Hello, hello. Where'd you guys go? TikTok, you're with me. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Say hello. Let me know where you're watching from first of all. Hope everyone's doing well. Say hello. Let me know where you're joining us from today. We got folks over on YouTube. Hello. Good morning. Facebook. Good morning. LinkedIn. Over on TikTok. For those of you on TikTok and Facebook and LinkedIn, look, YouTube's where I've got all my best stuff. If you really want to get some good trainings, some very detailed tutorials about lots of stuff you need to know to give yourself the best possible chance to win your asylum case, then I want you to go to YouTube and search for Political Asylum Lawyers. That's the name of my law firm, and it's also the name of our YouTube channel, Political Asylum Lawyers. That's where you can find all of our best stuff. If you look at the playlist tab, we've got lots of detailed trainings and tutorials that I think are going to help you to win your asylum case. All right. I'm Brian Manning. Let me know what questions you have. Hello, hello. Good morning. Hello. We've got Khaled says Pennsylvania, Poconos, Pennsylvania. Nice. Good morning from, good to see you out there in Pennsylvania. Good morning, Bashar. Hello, or Bashar. Hello. Good morning. K 1971. Good morning over on TikTok. Dost Masood. Hello. Psychopath. Interesting. Sana. Good morning. Hello, hello. We got folks all over YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. Let me know what questions you have about winning asylum in the United States. Start leaving those questions in the comments. All right. So look, I'm going to get to your questions, and we're going to talk about winning asylum in the United States. Before I start answering your questions, though, one thing that I wanted to touch on is this question is, did they say anything else, or what else did they say? Two variations of basically the same thing. And look, this is a question that you are going to get over and over and over again in your asylum interview. All right. So the context here is, when you're being asked by the asylum officer about incidents of past harm or threats, when something bad has happened to you, they want you to describe this in detail, right? And of course, one of the things that the officer is going to ask you is, okay, well, what did they say? What did they say like right before the incident? What did they say during it? What did they say after it? Those are questions that you're going to get. Why do they care so much about what the bad guys, the persecutors, said? Well, usually because it tells us something about their motivations. Like, not always, right? The things they say don't always shine a light on why it is that they're targeting you, but often they do, right? So if you know, and while they're attacking someone, if they're saying, you dirty political opposition scum, well, that makes it sound like the motivation might have something to do with your political opinion. So the words of the attackers, or the people making the threats, the persecutors, they often tell us about their motivations. And why is that important? Well, remember, to win asylum, it's not enough just to show that you've been persecuted or that you're likely to be persecuted in the future. It's not enough, unfortunately. Rather, you also have to show that the persecution is motivated, at least in significant part, by the fact that you possess one of the 5 protected characteristics under U.S. asylum law. Those are your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, and then this thing called membership in a particular social group, right? So how do you show that it's one of those things about you that's motivating the motivating the persecutor to harm you, to want to go after you? Well, any fact or circumstance really that helps us understand their motivation is relevant. And what they say, the words they use, are often a very good indicator of what they're thinking and what their motivations are in targeting you for harm. And so the officer is going to say, what did they say? What did they say before, as they were approaching? What did they say during the incident? What did they say as they were leaving, right after the incident? What did they say? What did they say? What did they say? And when you tell them, when you say, oh, they said ABC, the officer is going to say, did they say anything else? Or what else did they say? Did they say anything else? Why are they asking you this? Well, Again, they just want to be really sure that they understand the context so they can help understand the motivations to see whether there is what's called a nexus to a protected ground. Also, however, there's an ulterior motive. They also use this question. What else did they say? Did they say anything else? To sort of try and trap you and trick you. How? Well, look, let's say they ask you to describe an incident where you're harmed. And you explain the incident and you explain what they said, and the officer goes, "What else did they say?" And you say, "Oh, well, they said A, B, C," and the officer says, "What else did they say?" And you go, "Oh, well, they also said D. So they said A, B, C, and D." And the officer then says, "Did they say anything else?" And you go, "No, just A, B, C, D, nothing else." And the officer goes, "Okay." And then later in the interview, or maybe right then, they say, "Well, you know what? That's interesting. You told me they said A, B, C, D, and I asked you whether they said anything else, and you said no. However, your declaration that you wrote, your written statement says that the bad guys said A, B, C, D, and E. So they said something else according to your declaration. Yet today, when I asked you and I gave you a chance to by following up and saying, did they ask anything else? You said no, just A, B, C, D, nothing else." And so what happens? Well, this is considered an inconsistency. And remember, inconsistencies can ruin your asylum case. If you have several inconsistencies, the officer can say, "Oh, there were too many inconsistencies, therefore you're not credible." And when they deem you not credible, they can use that to deny your case, okay? And they do this all the time. Officers like to sort of play little word games with people and try to trip them up and sort of trick them into making these little things, these little mistakes, or things that look like mistakes and look like inconsistencies, so they'll have an excuse to be able to deny them by saying, "Oh, too many inconsistencies, therefore you're not credible, therefore you're denied." Okay? So you've got to think carefully, very carefully, before your asylum interview as you're preparing. Hopefully you've got an asylum lawyer that's helping you do a mock interview to prepare for this, all right? You've got to prepare, and you've got to be ready to do this, to answer this question of what did they say? What else did they say? Did they say anything else? And you've got to be consistent in what you say about this, in your written declaration, as well as in what you say at your interview. Okay, they need to be consistent, and you need to be thorough. And I know it can be hard to remember these kinds of things, especially in this very stressful context. But it's really important to your case that you be able to manage this aspect. Okay, it's tough, but you got to do it. All right. So that's what I wanted to tell you about this question of, did they say anything else? What else did they say? Because you're going to get this at your asylum interview. I guarantee it, okay? Comes up all the time. All right, let's go now to the questions. Actually, before the questions, if you want to talk with us, with one of our asylum professionals about your situation to see if we think that maybe we're in a position to support you, then I want you to go to winasylum.com, WINASYOUM.com, winasylum.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation to get set up with one of our asylum professionals so that we can talk and see if we think we might be in a position to support you. If we think that we can help you, we're going to tell you how. We're going to tell you exactly what steps that we're going to take through our asylum action plan. This is our 3-step framework for helping our clients present the strongest case possible. We want to give you the best chance possible to win your asylum case, and we do that through our 3-step framework that we call our asylum action plan. And I want to tell you all about it if you'll give us a call or go to winasylum.com to schedule this consultation. All right, you can go right now, just open up another tab on your browser or pull it up on your phone, type in WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. I'm going to put it in the chat. Consultations, winasylum.com. All right. Go to winasylum.com. All right, let's go to the questions. What questions do you have about winning asylum in the United States? What do you got? Let's see. What do you got for me? Oh, I think our YouTube is disconnected. It looks like on my software. Let me go open it up. YouTube. Good morning. Hello. Yeah, let's see what questions you have about winning asylum in the United States. Stop that. All right. What do we got? What questions do we have about winning asylum in the United States? Hello. Good morning. Yep. Nice. All right. Now I got you guys. All right. Let's start with TikTok. Good morning, TikTok. What questions do you have about winning asylum in the United States? All right. Justice for All says, what about mandamus lawsuit for U.S. citizenship? Good question. The question is this. Can you use this mandamus lawsuit if you're having delays with your U.S. citizenship case? So look, I talk all the time on social media, right, about this asylum delay lawsuit. We call them, it's a mandamus lawsuit, right, where if there's an unreasonable delay in processing your case, you can sue the government asking a federal judge to tell USCIS, hey, this is unreasonable. It's not okay. Do your job. Process the person's case. Do what you have to do to get them a decision, okay? I talk about it all the time in the context of getting an asylum interview or of getting a decision after your asylum interview if there's a delay. But look, you can use it for really pretty much most types of immigration cases, including citizenship. Like if you apply on the N400 for citizenship and it takes USCIS a really long time to make a decision, like longer than normal, like significantly longer than the average, then yeah, you should consider suing. We'd love to talk with you about this. We help people sue for mandamus lawsuits for various things, and we can do it for this as well. Go to winasylum.com to schedule that consultation with us, okay? Go to Justice for All. Go to winasylum.com. We want to talk about this, okay? All right. Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Thank you, Usman. What did you Usman, I appreciate that. How many years does it take you to win asylum, says Beauty? Yeah, good question. So the question is this. How long are you going to wait to get your asylum interview after you've applied? Look, this is going to come as a surprise to many people. Right now, many people who are applying are in fact getting their interview pretty much right away, okay? That comes as a surprise because everyone knows of friends or family or people in your community or whatever who've been waiting for many years for an interview, right? Lots of people have been waiting 4, 6, 10, 12 years, right? So you may be thinking, well, if I apply now, I'll probably go into this queue and I'll wait for several years, right? Actually, that's not what's happening for a lot of people. A lot of people are getting their interview like 1 to 3 months after applying. Now, it's kind of a long story as to why. The bottom line, though, is it's because there's fewer people coming to the border seeking asylum. So asylum officers have more time to do asylum interviews rather than having to do credible fear interviews, mostly by telephone, with people that come to the border. So if you apply right now for asylum, there's no guarantee you'll get your interview very quickly, but you might. So you got to be ready to put your case together and present it really quickly. Okay. Good question. So hello. Good morning. Nice. Good to have you with us. We've got, the other question, let's see. The question from Sharif was, I've got asylum approved. I'm still waiting for my green card. What can I do? Well, the question is this. What can you do if you've been waiting for a really long time for your green card based on your asylum status to get approved? Mandamus lawsuit. Look, this mandamus lawsuit, I usually talk about this in the context of suing to get an asylum interview or to get a decision after the interview if there's a delay. But you can also use it to get your green card, or at least to make the government make a decision on your green card application. So we do help people with this. After they win asylum, then they apply for their green card. If the delay is unreasonable, if it's taking a long time, like at least 6 months more than what the sort of average processing time is, then you're probably in a pretty good position to have success with a mandamus lawsuit to push the case forward. And when I say push the case forward, it doesn't mean that the mandamus lawsuit helps you win the green card or get the green card, but it makes them make a decision. They pick it up and they adjudicate it and say approved or denied, one way or the other. So if you're sick of waiting and you want a decision, you want some clarity and certainty, then yeah, consider suing the government to force them to make a decision on your green card application. Okay. All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. Where are you guys watching from? Where are you at this morning? Nice. Jonathan, hello. In Houston, H-Town. Nice. So my law firm, we're based in Texas, right? We're based in Houston, but it doesn't actually matter because we help immigrants all over the country. We have clients all over. We got lots of clients in California, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Denver, all over throughout Florida. We help people all over the country, okay? So it doesn't matter where you're at. If you want to talk, if you want to see if we might be able to help you, go to winasylum.com, winasylum.com, okay? winasylum.com. That's where you can schedule an asylum strategy session, a consultation with one of our asylum professionals. We want to talk, all right? winasylum.com. All righty. What do we got? What questions do you have about winning asylum in America? Good question. Fure says, does getting a work permit and social security number guarantee you approval for asylum and the green card? Good question. The question is precisely this. Does successfully getting your work permit based on your pending asylum application and your social security card, social security number, does that guarantee that you're going to go on to win your asylum case? In other words, do you only get those things if the government intends to grant your asylum claim, or is it at least a positive sign that they're going to eventually approve your asylum case? The answer is no. It does not guarantee it, and it doesn't even hint, it doesn't even suggest that you're going to have success in your underlying asylum case. The two have nothing to do with each other. Well, okay, I mean, look, the ability to get the work permit and the social security card can be based off the fact that you have a pending asylum application. But the fact that they give you the work permit and the social security number does not tell us anything about your chances for success. They don't look at your actual asylum claim at that point. It's just, do you have an application pending? Has that application been pending for at least 180 days at the time they're ready to approve it? If the answer is yes, it gets approved. And as long as you don't have a criminal history or something else that would make you ineligible, then you get approved. It has nothing to do with the underlying merits or substance of your underlying asylum case, okay? All right. Is it possible to have the same judge and same court date with your friend? Good question, says Salim. Let love lead. Good question. The question then is this. Can you arrange it such that you end up having the same judge and same hearing date as a friend or someone maybe that has a case that's kind of similar to yours or has things in common? Look, for family, definitely, for sure, pretty much any judge will agree to let you sort of join together or consolidate the cases where it's family members that are in immigration court and their cases are not already together. That's easy. But if you're not related, no, it's going to be much harder. I think most judges are going to say no to that. They're not going to let you join them into a single case where it's actual shared evidence. They might agree to schedule on the same day with the same judge, but I don't think so. I don't think there's many judges that will go along with that. They're going to say, you're not related. Nope, not interested. You both have your own process. And it's just going to be, your hearing is when your hearing is. And they're not going to try to put them together on the same day with the same judge. Okay. All righty. Good morning. Glad you're here. Good to see you. Okay. Let's see. Where did that question go? There we are. Okay. Let's go over to, so glad, Sophia Dixon says, hey, Brian, so glad to see you. Bring hope. The question, if you apply right before B1, B2 expires, does that put me to risk? I am, oh, good. You're one of our clients. Nice. I'm a news client from New York. Expiry date is June 14th. And a news suggested May 19th. So hold on. The question then you're asking is, if I apply for a summer right before B1, B2 expires, does that put me at risk? No, it doesn't put you at risk. Look, it doesn't really matter. Honestly, even if you apply after your tourist status expires, it's it's not going to affect your asylum case. It's true that you could accrue a little bit of unlawful presence, and that can affect, and being out of status without the asylum application pending first it can make things trickier if you want to pursue other types of immigration cases, but it's not going to affect your asylum case. Okay. But if Sophia, if we apply for you, before that tourist status ends, right before it, I guess you're asking is does that look bad or is it risky or something? And the answer is no. There's no problem. No problem at all. All good. All right. Beautiful Bird says, what if my asylum form says I traveled through 8 countries, but my statement says 9 because someone else filled out the form and missed one? Would that be an inconsistency? Good question. The question is this. What happens if your asylum application says one thing but it conflicts with your declaration that you wrote, your personal statement that says something else about the same thing. So, for example, your asylum application says, "Oh, I traveled through 8 countries in transit to the United States," but then your declaration says, "I traveled through 9 because someone else helped you fill out the application form and they just got it wrong. They just forgot one or skipped one of those countries." Is that an inconsistency? Does it hurt your case? Well, look, if you don't resolve it before you get into like the substantive answers part of your question, then yes, it will be a problem. It could be considered an inconsistency, and yeah, that can hurt your case big time. But look, at your asylum interview, the officer is going to go through your application with you. They're going to go through almost every single part of it and ask you if there's any updates or corrections that need to be made. And that's when you need to say, yes, at this number right here, it says 8. It should say 9. That was a mistake. Sorry. It should say 9, officer. Can we correct it? Can we amend it to update it to say 9? As long as you do that before you get into the actual substantive part of your interview, then it'll be okay. And it will not be considered an inconsistency. You can update and amend your application at the interview. Okay. All right. What do we got? What questions do we have about winning asylum in the United States? Have you done any illegal activities while in the USA? What's the best answer? Okay, good question. So the question is this: how should you answer the question on the asylum application form that basically asks, have you ever done anything illegal since you've been in the United States? Well, you should answer it honestly. Look, honesty is the best policy, all right? I just think as a sort of an ethical proposition, from an ethics perspective, being honest is good. But also strategically, for your asylum case, I think being honest and open and transparent is the best thing, okay? So answer that question honestly. If you've had trouble with the law or done illegal activity, I think you should say it. Look, the fact that you've had trouble with the law or done something not great might not keep you from getting asylum. There's lots of things that you can do that are not great, or even that are crimes, that will not keep you from getting asylum, okay? I think you should be open and honest about it. But look, you should talk with an asylum lawyer to understand the potential impact of whatever it is that may be at issue in your case, and to talk about how to frame it, how to talk about it, how to explain it in writing, and how to answer questions about it in your interview in an honest, open, transparent way. But you can still structure it in a way that helps to explain it, in a way that is the least damaging to you, while still being open and honest and transparent, okay? You should definitely talk with an asylum lawyer about that, okay? Look, okay, Kamal, I can't, is it Kamal or Kamal? How do you say it? I don't know how you can explain it in writing to me on YouTube, but I keep seeing you on this live. Thank you, Camel, for being on these lives. I appreciate it. On YouTube, who asks, I'm going to call you today for my friend Brian. He has asylum interviews on March 25th. He's desperate. He needs a lawyer. Other lawyers rejected him for a short time. Look, here's the question. The question, good, Camel, good. Actually, you can call if you want, but it's better to go online. You can get this arranged quicker if you just go online to winasylum.com, winasylum.com. Go to winasylum.com, winasylum.com, okay? I'm going to put that in the chat, winasylum.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation, okay? All right, so look, the question is that you're raising, though, the question is this: what can we do for someone who has an asylum interview coming up really soon? So look, if you've got an asylum interview coming up in the next couple of weeks, we're not going to be able to do the full 3-step framework that we like to do for people, called our asylum action plan. It has 3 elements to it, and it takes a few weeks to put it all together. We don't have time to do the full thing if your interview is in like a couple weeks. However, we have time, probably, as long as there's at least like a week, we should have time. If you do your consultation right away, like today or tomorrow, then we should have time to do at least our mock interview. Look, this is the most important part of the case anyway. Our clients consistently tell us that the practice interview that we did, was the key to them winning their case. It was the most important aspect, okay? We're going to do the full-scale mock interview from beginning to end, everything you're going to experience on the day of the real interview. This is important for various reasons. I assure you it is something that I think will help you win your asylum case. Go to winasylum.com to schedule it, winasylum.com to schedule a mock interview. Go there right now, okay? Time is of the essence. We got to get this scheduled right away, okay? winasylum.com winasylum.com. WINASYLUM.com. All right, Kamel, go to winasylum.com, okay? Thank you for commenting, by the way. Thank you for being a regular participant here in this live. You don't need to wait, Camel, you don't need to wait until later to call us. Just go right now to winasylum.com, like literally right now, okay? All right. All right, good question. Oh, this is a very good question. Cooling Effect says, what happens to your EAD if before 180 days, if your asylum gets denied at the interview, or if your case gets referred to court? Very important question. Good question. The question is this. What happens if your asylum claim gets denied before you reach 180 days after applying? And what happens if your case gets referred to an immigration court before 180 days? So we're talking here about 180 days because that's how long you have to be waiting after having applied for asylum to be eligible to get your work permit based on your pending asylum case. So can you still get it if you get your interview quickly after applying? Well, look, if your case gets referred to immigration court, yes, the clock keeps counting. The clock keeps ticking up, and then 180 days, even though you're in immigration proceedings now, yes, you can apply for and still get your work permit. Actually, sorry, you can apply at 150 days. You should apply at 150 days. At 180 days is when they can actually approve it, okay? But it's not the same if you get a final denial from USCIS. If you get a denial from USCIS, and your case is not referred to immigration court, but you get a final denial, then no, you can't get a work permit. The clock stops, the clock disappears because you no longer have a pending asylum claim at all, okay? All right. Hello. Good afternoon. Good morning. Let's go to TikTok. What questions do we have over on TikTok about winning asylum in America? Pending status, will it be affected by the new ban? If I have advanced parole and I'm an asylum seeker with pending status, will it be affected by the new ban? New ban on what? We got lots of bans being talked about. I'm not sure what ban you're talking about, Yahoo. Let me know what ban will what be affected and what ban are you talking about, all right? Because people say ban a lot when it's maybe a little bit imprecisely. So I want to know what you have in mind what you're talking about, okay? Family is everything says, hey, Brian, if the asylum interview gets denied, are they going to put the person in removal proceedings? Good question. The question is this. So what happens if you get a negative decision at your asylum interview? Do they put you in deportation proceedings in court and try to deport you? Look, what happens when you get a negative decision depends on what your immigration status is at the moment that negative decision is taken by USCIS. If you, in that moment, do not have legal immigration status, then yes, your case is transferred or referred to immigration court where they're trying to deport you. Yeah, you get another chance. The judge can give you asylum if you convince the judge that you qualify, but make no mistake, this is not a good thing. The government is actively trying to deport you, okay? Now, if at the moment a negative decision is to be made in the asylum office, you do have legal status, like your tourist status is still valid, or you're on J1 or F1 or something like that, still have valid status, then they don't send your case to immigration court. Instead, they just deny you. Well, actually, they give you one chance to try to change their minds through what's called a notice of intent to deny, where you can respond in writing in 16 days and try and change their minds. But if you don't change their mind, they still think you're not eligible, then they just give you what's called a final denial, where you're denied, you don't want asylum, but you're not put in deportation proceedings, and you just stay with your current status, whatever that is, until that ends. Okay? All right. What questions do we have about winning asylum in the United States? My asylum, everything smart says, my asylum interview has been postponed twice. What actions can I take? How frustrating. Look, these things get postponed all the time. I know that's really frustrating. The question then around this is this. What can you do if USCIS keeps rescheduling your asylum interview? Look, asylum interviews get postponed or rescheduled for all kinds of reasons. Usually it has nothing to do with your actual underlying case. It's not even about you. It's just logistical, practical stuff that causes them to have to cancel and reschedule interviews. But look, if this keeps happening to you, first of all, I would try one more time to reach out to them and say, look, this has happened twice. Can you please schedule it and go through with it this time? You can do that by email, okay? And if it takes them a while to schedule it again, then you need to think about whether you should sue. Okay. If you've been it depends on how long you've been waiting for your interview. If you've been waiting for multiple years, you should consider talking with an asylum lawyer about possibly suing to force the interview. That would actually cause them to schedule it and actually follow through with it. Okay. That's the most effective way to get their attention and to get them to take action is through a mandamus lawsuit or an asylum delay lawsuit, which we love doing in my office. All right. Which, yeah, that good question, follow-up question. The question is this. So what is this mandamus thing? Weird word. I know it's like a Latin word. We're talking about the asylum delay lawsuit, at least in this context, where if you've been waiting for multiple years for your asylum interview and you're sick of waiting and you want to get your interview so that you can win your case and move on with your life with confidence, with certainty about your future, then you should sue. Look, we file a lawsuit in federal court where we're asking a federal judge to tell USCIS, you got to do your job. The delay here is unreasonable. You have to give this person the interview, but also you have to give them the decision within a short amount of time after the interview. Now this works. Guys, look, asking for your interview, asking for a humanitarian expedite, getting a member of Congress involved to inquire about it, doing an ombudsman request, those things very, very, very rarely work to get your stalled asylum case moving forward. You know what does work? The mandamus lawsuit. We've been doing it a ton lately and it works. Our clients love it because it works. All right. Mandamus lawsuit to get your stalled asylum case unstuck. That's what you should do. All right. Nice. Does the J1 visa affect the success of asylum? Good question. Who is that from? That's from Noamed8. Good question. The question is this. Does the fact that you've got legal status here, like say you're on J1 status or maybe F1 student status, does that affect your asylum claim? Does it help it? Does it hurt it? No, it neither helps nor hurts. The fact that you're here with legal status and that you're pursuing something that probably is pretty prestigious, and pretty impressive, right? On your J1 program or your F1 program, it does not mean anything for your asylum case. It doesn't help it, but it also doesn't hurt it. And look, this is a common misunderstanding that people have. People often think, well, look, if I convince the officer that like I'm impressive and like I've got these good credentials and, I'm the kind of person that you want here in the United States because look, I'm getting my PhD or, whatever the case, impressive thing may be. They want to try to focus on that in their written materials. And in the interview, they want to try to sort of force that into the conversation a lot. But the truth is, no, the officer doesn't care about any of that. They just care about whether you meet the strict asylum eligibility requirements. So you got to understand what the officer wants, what they need to be able to assess your case. And you got to be prepared to give it to them in a concise but powerful way. Okay? That's what we help our clients do. We do it in writing in what we call an asylum roadmap. This is the packet that we submit to the asylum office ahead of the interview, where we lay out everything the officer needs to know. And we call it an asylum roadmap because it's like a map that helps the officer to get to the answer yes in your case in the easiest way possible. We want to persuade the officer, right? We want them to be thinking in their head before you ever set foot in their office. Okay, look, based on the documents in this case, I understand the case. I really deeply understand the case, and I can see how the person, yes, meets all the asylum eligibility requirements. All right, that's what we want to do before you even set foot in the asylum office. That's the kind of atmosphere, the environment that we want you to walk into, all right? We do that with our asylum roadmap, but then we also help you to prepare for the interview, and the key to that is a mock interview, a practice interview, where we do everything from beginning to end that you're going to experience on the day of your real interview, okay? Yeah, so that's what we can do. That's what we do to help our clients win their asylum cases. All right, let's see. Good questions. Lots of good questions. Subedi Narayan says, can you sue at the asylum court case if it's more than 10 years pending? You're talking about in immigration court, not the asylum office. You're talking about immigration court? No, but look, at 10 years, you might actually be able to convince a judge to go ahead and get that one scheduled. If you want to talk about that, Subedi, we should talk in a consultation. You might at 10 years waiting in court, you might be able to convince a judge to go ahead and get that one scheduled if you're sick of waiting and you want to move on with your life. Okay. All right. Nice. Okay. John Gear says, my asylum is pending from 20 months. What should I do? So that's a little less than 2 years, right? Look, the question is this. What can you do if your asylum case has been pending? You've been waiting for a USCIS asylum interview for like 2 years, around that time frame. Look, I think you're probably not in a good position yet to have success with a mandamus lawsuit. I think you should wait 3 years at all of the asylum offices, except right now at the Houston asylum office and Los Angeles asylum office, we're saying 5 years for those two. That's what we're making the minimum threshold before we'll take a case to do the mandamus lawsuit. It's a 5-year delay at Houston and Los Angeles, but 3 years everywhere else. Okay. If you've just been waiting 2 years, not yet ripe for mandamus. Okay. But look, you can still take action to develop your case and to lay the groundwork. Okay. To present the case on paper. That's, if you wanted our help now, that's what we would do. Is we would do with you what's called our asylum roadmap. It's a 3-part filing that we're going to produce that helps the officer to see how you meet all the asylum requirements before your interview. Okay, we can do that now. We can get that on paper, get it filed, such that when you finally do have your interview, whether you get it organically or whether at that 3-year mark you sue, then you'll have that part done, and it'll be less stressful for you to deal with the preparation and stuff under a short timeline potentially, because you'll be done with the paperwork. Okay, we should talk. All right. Let's see. Nice. All right. When the EAD clock is not running and then they fix the error at EOIR, does it go back to the amount of days, or does it count the lapse time? If they're fixing it, if you have reason to believe they're going to fix it, then they should actually fix it and like count the lapse time, count the time that should have been counted but has not been. Okay. Life and Corporate Coaching says, Brian, up until what point can one change their address if the assignment interview is scheduled within 50 days? I'm not sure I understand the question. You can always change your address, but like doing so may stop your clock, your EAD clock. Okay. So usually people decide, when they learn that, people decide not to move during that time, that their EAD clock is counting up to 180. For that reason, because it can stop your EAD clock. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. Okay. Does USCIS admit technical errors on their part with respect to the EAD clock and resume the clock from where it stopped? Good question. The question is this: if you convince USCIS that they've messed up in the EAD clock with the counting of the days, will they fix it and like actually credit to you the days that should have been credited to you? And the answer is yeah, if you convince them that they're wrong, which is hard to do, but yeah, we've had success with this. It can be done if you explain clearly, exactly what the problem is and how they messed up and how many days should be on the clock. It may be possible to convince them to not only start it again, but also to actually credit you with the days that should have been credited but were not due to a mistake by USCIS. Okay. All right. Look, if you want to talk with us about winning your asylum case, about what we might be able to do to help you present the strongest asylum case possible to give yourself the best possible chance of winning your case, go to winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com. Winasylum.com. We want to talk. All right. We want to see what's going on, get to know you, get to understand your circumstances, and really get to know your case, and then tell you whether we think we're in a position to support you. If we think that we can help you, we're going to explain how. We're going to explain concretely, like exactly what we would do to give you the best possible chance of winning your case. Okay. You can schedule that consultation at winasylum.com. WINASYLUM.com. All right. Juan Alfonso Pena. Juan, we have in case it's helpful, we have a YouTube channel in Spanish. If you go to YouTube and search for Asilo Aprobado es el nombre del canal en español. Okay. Juan Alfonso says, is it possible to present asylum with USCIS after immigration court has advised that they never got the NTA? Good question. The question is this. How do you apply for asylum if the immigration court says, look, we never got the notice to appear for your case and your data is not showing up here? This happens pretty frequently for people that have come to the southern border. The immigration law enforcement authorities are supposed to send the NTA, the notice to appear, and some other documents over to the immigration court to formally start the case against you, to formally start the deportation proceedings. But sometimes they just don't get around to it. Why? Well, they're overwhelmed. They just have too much going on and they can't keep up with all this. They can't keep track of it. So your case file just sits on the shelf somewhere and is never sent over to the immigration court. When that happens, when there has been an NTA created for you, which you probably have a copy of, right? But it's never filed with the court, then you can't file for asylum with the court. Rather, your only option is to file with USCIS. Under this circumstance, USCIS accepts the application, sends you a receipt notice saying, application accepted and pending as of X date. However, we're transferring the case file to the court and we're actually starting the deportation proceedings against you. So your case will actually be heard in court, but it starts with applying with USCIS. And unfortunately, you have to do that by mail. It's super annoying. It's a weird circumstance, but you got to do that by mail. They don't accept applications where an NTA has been created for someone. You got to do that one by mail, not online, unfortunately. Okay. All right. Nice. Good morning. Nice. Helena says, I have a pending asylum. What's the process to add my husband after his arrival to the United States? Good question. The question is this. How do you add a family member to your asylum case when they arrive in the United States after you've already applied for asylum? Look, it depends on whether you're in immigration court or at the asylum office. If your case is pending at the asylum office and you want to add your spouse needs to not be in deportation proceedings, not be in removal proceedings with the immigration court. Okay, as long as they're not, then yeah, you can add them in your case with USCIS. How you do that, it's annoying because there's no standard for this at the national level. Rather, each asylum office handles it their own way. I recommend reaching out by email to the asylum office where your case is pending and saying, I want to add my spouse. Exactly what do you need from me for me to do that? Because these requirements seem to change from like week to week almost. They've changed a lot, even within the same asylum office over time. So ask what they need. But for sure, it's going to be an updated, like amended version of the asylum application that has their data and check the box that, yes, I want to add them as a dependent. And you're going to have to include a copy of your marriage certificate for sure. But sometimes they have all these other weird little requirements they want you to do. Just it varies by office. You should ask the office exactly what they need from you. Okay. All right. Nice. Okay. Okay. Yaya says, if I have advanced parole and I'm an asylum seeker with a pending status, will it be affected by Trump administration's expanded travel ban targeting nationals from Somalia? It will affect your ability to enter the United States. Yes, absolutely. If that travel ban goes into effect, yeah, even though you have advanced parole, you will not be allowed back in. You should not leave the country. From Somalia, even with advanced parole, I would not leave the country, given that Trump is talking about reenacting a travel ban that could include Somalia. I would not leave. If I were in your shoes, I would not leave the country, even though you have advanced parole. Okay? Yeah. We should talk. I love helping people from the Horn of Africa. We've helped Somalis before. We know these cases. We should talk. All right. Ghana B says, I've moved from LA to New York to LA. Now my judge, I got assigned for my MCH is pretty low approval rate. If I'm actually moving to San Francisco 2 months before the MCH due to a valid reason, would they change the court? Could they deny it if could it have an adverse effect on my case? Good question. The question is this. is an immigration judge likely to approve your request to have the case transferred to another immigration court if you've already done that a couple times? Like if you've already moved a couple times, requested a change of venue, a transfer of your case, and they've said yes, does there come a point after 2 or 3 of those where they finally say, no more changes? And if so, will that negatively impact your underlying asylum case? The answer to the first question is maybe. Look, it just comes down to the judge. If they think that you're playing games or that you're just trying to like find a judge with a higher approval rate, then they might deny it. They might do it if you've moved multiple times before and changed courts multiple times. But some judges will be okay with it as long as you just affirm and show them that you've actually moved. Okay. There's no harm in requesting it, because even if they deny it, the answer to the second question is that no, it will not affect your underlying asylum claim. If you get this motion for change of venue denied, no, it won't harm your actual underlying asylum case. So there's no harm in trying, I guess, is the bottom line. No harm in trying. Go ahead. Okay. Life and Corporate Coaching says, if the assignment interview is on April 25th, is it okay to change the address now? Will it adversely impact the case? Well, it doesn't adversely impact your... Let me address it like this. Look, the question is this. If you've got your asylum interview scheduled with USCIS for, let's say, a month and a half from now, and you're thinking about moving, you may be wondering, well, could moving negatively impact my asylum case? Look, it doesn't negatively impact your asylum case in the sense that it doesn't like make the officer less likely to approve you, or it's not a negative factor in deciding whether you qualify for asylum. However, there's a good chance that it will stop your EAD clock from counting. So if you haven't reached 180 days yet, you should think twice about moving, because if you move before 180 days, it could affect your EAD clock. And also, if you move from the jurisdiction of one asylum office to another, they're going to transfer the case, and they might reschedule your interview for some time further down the road. Usually those reschedules happen pretty quickly, but it might not. It might be several months or even longer. So you should definitely think seriously about whether you have to move before actually doing so with your interview coming up soon. Okay, we should talk. Look, Life and Corporate Coaching, if you were to schedule a consultation with us, if you went over right now to winasylum.com and scheduled a consultation in the coming days, we would have time to represent you in a full representation before your April 25th interview through what we call our Asylum Action Plan. It's a three-step framework. We're going to do our Asylum Roadmap, which is where we try to win your case on paper. We present the strongest case possible on paper and submit this filing ahead of time, so that when you arrive at your interview, the officer is already thinking, I can see how this person qualifies for asylum, and I plan to give it to them. That's what we want to establish in the officer's mind, okay? The second step in our Asylum Action Plan is the preparation. And the key to this is a mock interview, a full-scale practice interview from beginning to end, where you experience everything you'll experience on the day of the real interview. And this is key. Why? The interview's hard. The interview's harder than you expect. The officer doesn't just sort of let you explain yourself and tell your story, okay? They're going to ask you question after question after question after question after question. They're constantly interrupting you. They're changing topics frequently. And the sad truth is that a lot of them are just straight up anti-immigrant and just looking for excuses to be able to deny people. But with the proper practice, with the proper preparation, you can go into this interview with confidence, okay? With certainty, we're honestly, about how you're going to be able to perform, all right? And you can do a much better job. That's what the asylum practice session, our mock interview, helps you to get, is that confidence, okay? The third step is representation. We want to represent you during the interview. We want to advocate for you, all right? We want to make sure your rights are protected, and we want to make sure that the officer understands exactly how you meet all the eligibility requirements and why you deserve asylum, okay? We should talk life and corporate coaching. Go to winasylum.com. Go right now to winasylum.com, okay? And schedule a consultation. I'm going to check on our calendar after this call, after this live. I'm going to check and see whether you're on our calendar. I don't know what your real name is, of course. But I'm going to try to connect the dots and play detective and connect the dots and see whether you scheduled a consultation. I want to talk, all right? Tassawar says, what happens next if your case is denied after the interview with USCIS? This is what I was explaining this a couple minutes ago. The short version is, if you don't have legal status at that moment, you get put in deportation proceedings, where you get another chance, but it's not good because you're in deportation proceedings. You don't want to be there. If you do have legal immigration status at the moment that USCIS makes the negative decision, then you don't get sent to immigration court, but rather they just deny you. Okay, they give you a chance to try to change their minds through what's called a notice of intent to deny, which actually that's an important one. So let me address that like this. The question is this: what is this notice of intent to deny, and what should you do if you get one? Look, we're talking about a notice of intent to deny. We call it a NOID because the initials are NOID, right? It's called a NOID, NOID. And when you still have legal status, when USCIS wants to make a negative decision on your case, they don't send you to immigration court and try to deport you. They instead send you this NOID where it says, we intend to deny you for the following reasons. They set forth their reasons and they say, you have 16 days to respond in writing and try to change our minds. Tell us why we're wrong. Tell us why our reasoning is flawed. And you do that. You need to, first of all, you need to hire a lawyer immediately when you get that letter. You get that letter usually several days into that 16-day period, so you do not have much time to waste. And this, doing a rebuttal, an argument against the NOID, is hard. It's hard to win. It takes a lot of work, so you need to start working with a lawyer immediately if you receive this NOID letter in the mail. So you try your best to change their minds. They'll consider it. And if you win, great, you win asylum. If you don't change their minds, then they just say asylum denied. But at that moment, they look again. If you still have status, immigration status, at that moment, they just say claim denied. You don't win asylum, but you're not getting put in deportation proceedings. You just hang out with whatever status you have until that status ends. Okay? That's what happens. That's exactly what happens. Okay? We've been handling these NOIDs lately. And look, we've had success. It's hard. It's the chances, honestly, I got to be honest with you, the chance for asylum success after you get a notice of intent to deny from the asylum office is low. They very rarely grant asylum after giving a notice of intent to deny, but it's not impossible. We've won this before. We're going to win it again. Okay. We're winning cases, by the way, despite all the Trump absolute crackdown on immigration. We're still winning cases. We got multiple approvals last week. This morning, about an hour ago, my colleague sent a chat on Google Chat to inform our whole team that he won an asylum case in immigration court. Okay. I think it was a Venezuelan family, I'm pretty sure. We've had a lot of success with those cases, and we won a case today in immigration court. This one was in San Antonio, Texas. My colleague Eduardo put on a great case. Several members of our team collaborated to develop the case on paper, from legal assistants, paralegals, and other staff attorneys that worked together to create a really solid case on paper with our asylum roadmap. And then Eduardo did the preparation sessions with the client. And then Eduardo put on a great case in immigration court, and they won the case today. The asylum was granted. Look, we got multiple approvals last week as well. We're winning cases. Even though Trump is trying to deport everyone he possibly can, we continue to win asylum cases, and we're going to keep winning them. Okay. So there's hope. Don't give up hope. All right. Oh, dude, look, Glor Smoke. I need to take a picture of this. Hold on. Yeah. Glor Smoke says, can I apply for EB2 in IW even though my asylum case is pending for 2 years? The question is, well, look, maybe is the answer to the EB2 question. We get this question a lot, and unfortunately, there's no clear answer because different field offices handle this differently. If you applied for asylum while you still had legal status, if you came in on tourist status and you still had that at the time you applied for asylum, and your case remains pending with USCIS, can you qualify for EB2 in IW? Maybe. Some offices say yes, some say no, because they don't. Some of them, the ones that say no, don't count this situation, this circumstance of having an asylum claim pending as something that makes you eligible to adjust status. But others say yes, and the law affords a good argument for yes. But it's tough. It's tough to convince them of that sometimes. Okay. But look, here's the more important thing is this, in my opinion. If your asylum case has been pending for 10 years, you are in an extremely strong position to have success with an asylum delay lawsuit, with a mandamus lawsuit. Like, look, I can't guarantee results. If anyone guarantees results to you, like says you for sure will win, you should not work with that lawyer. But look, what I can tell you is I have high confidence, high confidence that if you bring a mandamus lawsuit, if you let us help you with a mandamus lawsuit, I have high confidence that we will win. All right. That mandamus lawsuit. I have to talk with you. Obviously, we have to talk about your underlying asylum case to tell you how strong we think it is and whether we think it makes sense to try to push it forward through a mandamus lawsuit. But if we do, then there's a good chance for success with getting the interview scheduled. Okay. So we should talk about that. Okay. What was that? Who was that? That was Gloire Smoke. We should talk about that, about possibly suing the government to force your interview. Why don't you schedule a consultation? Go right now. All right. We've got a question, interesting question over here. Task Force says, what is the asylum success rate with USCIS? Good question. The question is this. What is the asylum approval rate at the USCIS asylum offices? Look, they have not released public data on this in years. Maybe 3 years ago or something was the last time they released public data on this. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the approval rate at a national level was something like, I don't know, 30 something percent, or it might have even been like 28%, either high 20s or low 30s. It's low. It's really, really low. Okay. Immigration court's a little bit higher. Okay. Traditionally, in the past, immigration court had a lower rate, asylum office had a higher rate, but that switched a few years ago. Now, immigration court approval rate's higher than the asylum office, but within the asylum offices, it varies drastically between, like, San Francisco usually has the highest approval rate most years, and then down at the bottom, the places in the south, like Miami, Houston, Tampa, those places are very hard to win asylum. New York actually also is bad for asylum at the asylum office. However, the immigration court in New York has a higher approval rate. So look, this stuff is tricky. All you can do, well, actually you can move. If you legitimately move, you might be able to get your case transferred to somewhere with a higher approval rate. But besides that, the only other thing you can do is present the strongest case possible. You got to work hard to present a solid case. Okay. We got Keanu says, I'm a South African Boer, a Sefrican, going to court this week with Trump's executive order about South Africa and the refugee program, along with his tweets. Would that benefit my case? Look, like, I would use it. Yeah. Like, if we were representing you, I would include in my legal brief, I'd be like, and the president even said that these people deserve protection. Look, nothing formal has been done. All right. With regard to South Africans. But what he said about it, yeah, I would include it, and I would quote it in my legal brief and include, press reports about it or the White House statement about it. It's not enough for sure by itself to win asylum. You need to show that you qualify based on your particular circumstances. Okay, your actual personal case, but it can help a little. We can help a little bit. The fact that the president's like, oh, these people, these white South Africans need protection, that, yeah, it can only help. Right. So yeah, I would include it in our legal brief. I would cite to it and discuss it and include information about it. All right. Nice. How does it work for Arab LGBTQ asylum? Good question. The question is this. How do you present your asylum case if you're from an Arab country and you're a member of the LGBTQ plus community? How does it work? Look, it's the same for anyone from anywhere who's a member of this community. You have to convince the asylum officer that you're at risk because of this, right? And yeah, it's true. It is easier to do that with regard to certain countries, more so than others. So you first got to focus on you. Have you been harmed or threatened in the past because of it? Is there anything in particular that makes you think that someone like actually wants to specifically target you for harm? That's one thing you got to address, but then you also have to address the country context. And we do this in our legal brief. We analyze this by pointing to and talking about country conditions information about how people in the LGBTQ plus community are treated in your country and what the authorities do to try to protect them, if anything. So, the fact that you're from an Arab country will become relevant in that sense, in that, depending on where you're from, there's a decent chance that human rights situation is not great for people in your community. And that's something we're really going to drill down on in our legal brief in explaining your case. Okay. Nice. Ishwar says, when before do we submit additional documents at USCIS? Good question. The question is this. If you've got additional documents that you want to submit to the asylum office before your asylum interview, when should you do that? So we're talking about, when you apply for asylum, you present certain things, right? If after that moment you get or develop additional supporting documents that you want to submit, when should you do that? Well, look, you can do it you can do it really any time before your interview. I recommend that you do it at least, ideally, a couple of weeks before your interview. It's okay, though, if it's closer. Like the letter that you'll get with your interview notice says you need to submit everything at least 7 days before your interview. In practice, in reality, we find that the asylum offices will accept things later, even like the day of your interview. In fact, on the day of your interview, they always ask you, did you bring anything else that we haven't yet seen, that you haven't sent us, that you want us to consider? But it's way better to do it ahead of time, okay? Ideally, a couple weeks ahead of time. And then, next best thing would be like a week ahead of time. But if it takes a little bit longer, I think it's usually okay as well, okay? All right. Look, that's it for today. I'm Brian Manning. I'm a political asylum lawyer. My law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help people all over the country. It doesn't matter where you are, because we help people all over the United States. So if you want to talk with us, please go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. That's where you can schedule an asylum strategy session. I want you to talk with one of our asylum professionals who's going to get to know you, going to get to understand your circumstances, understand your case, and tell you whether we think we're in a position to support you. If we think that we can add value, that we can really help you, then we're going to tell you how we would actually do that, what concrete steps we're going to take to give you the best possible chance of securing your future in America. Look, there's hope. Even in the midst of this craziness with Trump's mass deportations and all the anti-immigrant hostility out there, there's hope, okay? We continue to win asylum cases, and we're going to keep winning them. We're going to keep fighting for our clients, for the immigrant community, and we're going to keep winning these asylum cases. There is hope. Don't give up. If you want to see if we think we can help you, please go to winasylum.com and schedule, like right now, literally go over there right now and schedule a consultation. Okay, we want to talk. We want to get to know you and see if we think we can help you, okay? winasylum.com. Until next time, have a great day, great afternoon. I'm Brian Manning, and as always, it's truly a pleasure and an honor